The Superscaler era of Sega's arcade releases was one of those times where there was hit after hit. Of course, that meant they'd receive home versions of both Sega's home hardware as well as other platforms. Whilst many of these titles attempted to replicate the experience at home, there was one where, instead of directly translating the experience, an alternate approach was made. Enter Enduro Racer for the Master System. This is Beyond the Scanlines, a series focusing on interesting games on classic computing and gaming platforms. At its core, the Master System adaptation of Enduro Racer has the same goal as its arcade counterpart: race through a series of courses and aim to get to the end before running out of time. Travelling down these various courses, you'll need to avoid obstacles, tackle jumps, and overtake your competitors. The big change is obvious, moving away from a third-person view to an oblique projection similar to games like Paperboy. It's a move which genuinely makes sense for the hardware because, as seen with some of the other Master System conversions of Superscaler games, they tend to suffer a fair bit as a result. With the same overall goal in having to complete each of the courses, you would think the mechanics in this port would match one-to-one with the arcade original. But you're actually wrong on that front. This Master System version adds quite a few nice features to the table to shake things up. Firstly, you have to deal with damage. You'll incur differing amounts based on the obstacles you collide with. Once this exceeds 99%, the clock will start running down at twice the speed. Now, this may sound like an inevitable march towards the infamous game over, but you can get things under control. Overtaking the rival vehicles in each stage increases a bonus counter, which tabulates at the end. Prior to starting the next, you've got the ability to buy upgrades for your bike, or to simply repair damage by buying from the item category. Now, the item you'll get here is not always consistent. Some will repair more damage than others. The other upgrades available though are mega handy, boosting your turning speed, acceleration, overall speed, and even reducing how much speed you lose when going off-road, or not taking as big a hit when you make a jump. It's worth noting, these upgrades are only applicable for the next stage. If you want to use them multiple times in a run, be prepared to save your points. Which is really important as when reaching jumps. There's a handy technique which is critical to keeping your speed up. Hold down on the directional pad until you're just about to leap off the ramp, then let go. Doing this right will let you pull off the best jumps, netting you a bit more distance, and also slowing the clock down whilst you're airborne. I really love how this game distorts the passage of time. I mean, who needs bullet time for maximum performance? Just keep leaping into the air, right? All up though, there are 5 courses in this version of the game, and to complete it you will need to play through each one twice. The biggest challenge you'll have is time management. On the first loop, you will start with 60 seconds for each of them. When reaching the second pass, you now have only 50 seconds. But as you complete each stage, any remaining time is carried over, at least until you reach a max of 99 seconds. And this is where things kind of get interesting. So, whilst the Western version of the Enduro Racer is a fun game for sure, it's also a little compromised. The original release as for Sega's Mark III console, the Japanese system which became the Master System, shipped on a bigger cartridge. And that meant that for the Western release, a lot of things were actually cut out of the game. Primarily, the number of courses in the game is cut in half. That's right, whilst the Western release of the game has you playing across a set of 5 courses, doing them twice over, the Japanese version gives you 10 unique courses. I really feel fits the game better. It also so happens that the order of those stages from the Western release is mixed up in the Japanese version, meaning the challenge is ramped up a bit smoother than the Western version in my eye. Some minor elements are changes to the presentation, offering some extra screens on the attract mode, and a great map shown at the end which charts your progress. Sure, they're minor elements, but for me, these really make it far more complete. Another interesting little bit of gameplay tweaking is that when starting the second loop in the Western release, both the number of vehicles you'll encounter in a race, alongside the cost of upgrades and parts, gets doubled. For the Japanese version, this is actually kept at its original rate. Yet another example of how that version is the one which is better balanced in terms of difficulty. While the title and between race screens are fairly minimalist, relying on nothing more than text for progress and the tune-up shop options, the in-game visuals are quite befitting of a Master System title. Clear, crisp, and plenty vibrant. Obstacles stand out crisply against the ground, so you know what is and isn't safe to drive over. And that's a move which is totally essential for a game like this. Audio-wise, you've got the usual stack of sound effects for the engines, collisions, etc. They serve the purpose and pretty much do what they say on the tin. The accompanying music has distinct pieces for the title and between race screens, alongside the pieces played through each stage. Mostly this is the same piece, a cover of one of the main tunes from the arcade version, but from time to time, an alternate piece is used. When it does happen though, it'll only keep playing until you crash out. Then the main track is brought in once again. Both do fit in well, as despite how much you'll hear them, they don't really get irritating to listen to. Taking the thrills of the Enduro Racer arcade machine and squeezing it onto a platform like the Master System may have sounded like a heck of an illogical prospect, especially when seeing how other attempts to bring it into the home fared. You could see why reworking it in this way has made a lot of sense. The result makes for a fun, challenging arcade racer which is quite engaging to play, even with the cuts made in the Western release. Ultimately though, if you have the means to try out the original unedited Japanese Mark III release, then do give that a try. The extra elements present improve this one quite a lot. Which brings me to the end of yet another Beyond the Scanlines. If you enjoyed the episode, consider hitting the thumbs up and maybe let me know what you thought, especially if you've taken the time to try this one out for yourself or have played it previously. If you haven't already, do consider subscribing to the channel and, yes, hitting the bell to be notified of upcoming episodes as they come out. Most importantly though, thank you all so very much for watching. Once again, it's a bit of a short and sweet episode this time, but I really found this version of Enduro Racer to be quite interesting for what it brought to the table. There aren't many occasions where a home conversion reworks core mechanics, at least as dramatically as it's done here, that is for sure.